Jaspreet is the chief executive money nerd at the Minority Mindset Companies and the host of the Minority Mindset YouTube channel, which I highly recommend you go and subscribe to while you're listening or watching this. Welcome to the show, Jaspreet Singh. Jaspreet, thank you for doing this.
Wow, Jay, what an introduction, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate being here, and thank you for the opportunity.
No, I'm so grateful I get to have this conversation with you. I was just saying to you offline that one of the things I really appreciate about the way you talk about wealth when I was watching your channel and hearing your work was that I realized that money wasn't an obsession, or it didn't sound like the goal, but you'd created these really healthy habits around how all of us, no matter what our financial situation is, can create really a deep, meaningful connection to our wealth and finances. Would you say that's fair? How does that sound? You can totally disagree with me too.
100%. I mean, the things that I grew up learning just didn't make sense because growing up,
Exactly. Well, all right, we should say that we're having this talk 9 o'clock on Wednesday evening. So we're going to be playing this on Thursday. So this is going to be last night. I don't know what new developments there will be as of tomorrow on Thursday. But as of today, the Senate voted, and they did not vote in favor of this bill, this massive coronavirus phase 4, I guess, bailout bill. They took a procedural vote that indicated that they were ready to vote, but that seems to have fallen apart a little bit. Let's put that on hold for a moment and talk about what's in the bill to the extent that we know, right? Because we still don't have the full text, do we?
We don't, and not only don't we, but even members of Congress that I've spoken with do not have the text yet of this information that
jacked up the prices far beyond the cost of living, the price of an education. That's why they've plunged an entire generation of people into debts they cannot pay in the rest of their lives. And that's why they also abuse the graduate students that they hire to do a great deal of the work, including teaching. And so the students increasingly are fighting back, going on strike. And the students at Columbia have done it twice this year. They deserve everyone's support, and I want to give it right here and right now. This is also the last show of this program on this year. Don't worry, we're coming right back next month. But I wanted to give a little summary in honor of this last program. And I want to recognize that the picture, the political picture,
NVIDIA getting a deal to be allowed to sell certain chips. Is that a change of heart?
Well, it's funny because the Biden administration allowed China to buy these chips last year. So then we held it up.
And he said,
and then in the magnets deal with the Chinese, we told them that we would start to resell them. So remember, these are
this is part of a broader negotiation, in part because China shut off access to rare earth metals that U.S. companies need to make products. So that was a factor here. Now, the other thing that Howard Lutnick went on and said was,
There's the very real fear that you might lose all of that money that you've worked so hard to save up. So in light of all of that, this is the ultimate guide to investing for beginners. And we're going to split this video up into 4 parts, which are going to be timestamped down below so you can skip around if you feel like it. Part 1 is going to be about the basics and the philosophy behind investing. Part 2 is about why and how to invest your money in stocks and shares. In Part 3, we're going to be addressing common fears and questions and concerns about investing, like what if I lose all my money? And then in Part 4, we're going to talk about fast lane investing, which is an alternative approach to the traditional investing thing to build wealth. Part 1, the philosophy and basics of investing. So let's start by talking about what is the point of investing. The point of investing is for your money to be able to make more money. So let's say you start off with $1,000 that you've saved up through your hard-earned labor. Now you could put that money under your mattress, or you could put it in a bank current account. But the problem with that is that there's this thing called inflation that you might have been reading about on the news. And so your $1,000 might be able to buy you a MacBook Air right now. But a few years from now, when inflation goes up, that MacBook Air is going to cost $1,200. And so over
1960s, the French finance minister coined a term to sum up the contempt. The dollar, he said, had an exorbitant privilege. Zhang Yanling, a former executive from the Bank of China, argued in a speech last week that the Western sanctions on Russia and the weaponization of finance that we've seen would cause the US to lose its credibility and undermine the dollar's hegemony in the long run. She suggested that China should help the world get rid of the dollar hegemony sooner rather than later. So let's discuss the weaponization of finance, what it means to be a reserve currency, and to what extent does the United States benefit from reserve currency status. First, let me quickly tell you about today's video sponsor, Morning Brew. As you guys can probably guess, I'm a big consumer of financial news, and Morning Brew is a fantastic way to get up to speed first thing in the morning. Instead
capita surpassed that of many European nations from the 1890s to the 1910s, and it even exceeded the US in some years. This was mainly because of Argentina's beef and wheat exports, owing to the fertile Pampas region in the northeast. The country was also a top foreign investment location, as people from all over the world wanted to take part in Argentina's rapid economic growth. The nation attracted millions of immigrants from European countries like Spain and Italy, many of them choosing Argentina over the US. Argentina's population increased from 500,000 at the time of its foundation to about 5 million in 1900. And during these decades of rapid growth, the country expanded its geographical frontiers to the west and to the south. But in the 20th century, this all went downhill. In the rapidly growing city of Buenos Aires, people didn't have enough jobs because Argentina didn't have a ton of industry. When the global depression hit in 1929, Argentina's GDP fell by a fourth.
In 2002, Cohen sent out Christmas cards where he posed as King Cohen. By 2008, his personal fortune reached $8 billion, beating the stock market year after year. Cohen's returns, even with his first calls, seemed too good to be true.
He takes 50% of the profits, and then he returns even after that, like 30, 40, 50, 60%.
So in order for him to return to you a 50% profit, he has to make 100%. He has to double money.
Yes, and it averaged for many years, 30% after expenses.
After expenses, to deliver 30% to his clients.
That's over time is huge.
Means he's making more than 60% on the money he's managing.
Now you know how you go from 25 million to 9 billion.
How does anybody make 60% a year?
Well, the feds are asking that right now.
Guest on Macro Voices is Clint Cox. Clint is the co-chief investment officer of Crypto Futura Fund and has been following crypto closely and investing in it since 2015. Clint also spends considerable time looking at macro trends on a global scale. Clint, welcome aboard.
Hey, thank you, Eric. It's going to be a blast to be on the podcast with you and Pippa. Much appreciated.
It's great to have you on as a first-time guest. I'm going to start by asking each of our panelists to share their high-level, big-picture view of both digital currency and decentralized finance, what it's going to mean to financial markets, and for that matter, to broader society and the course of world history. I'll start with my own view on the subject and then ask each of our guests to share theirs. I am personally convinced that the invention of the secure digital bearer asset, that's the fundamental innovation that underlies both digital currency and decentralized finance, will make a more profound change to society.
My first credit card until like 2 years ago.
This was all within the last 2 years? This
Yes.
wasn't even built up. Go on.
Yeah, so I hadn't had the experience with credit cards at all.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the nature of my work, I didn't understand there was like different seasons of the work, and there were times of making more and then making less. So it became this.
You didn't do like market research into this industry before you decided this is what we're doing full time?
Not in the sense of like, I just saw coaches who were just constantly making, $40K months. And
$40,000 a month?
Uh-huh.
That'd be nice.
I know, right? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was like, that's where the head was at. My head was at.
And how much you bringing in a month?
It varies.
Average. Give me an average. Let's work with an average here.